Chosen one. Pay close attention. This is not just another moment on your screen. Something divine has broken into your timeline. Heaven has reached for you, because there is something you cannot afford to miss. You may feel ordinary on the outside, but your spirit knows the truth. You are set apart. All your life. You've sensed the difference. You walked into rooms and felt the weight shift. People looked at you and didn't know why they resisted you, or why they needed you. And inside, you often wondered, why me? Why does life feel heavier for me than for others? The answer is simple. You were marked. Your path was never going to be easy, because what you carry is not ordinary. I want you to imagine this. A diamond hidden deep underground. For years, it stays buried, unseen, pressed under immense weight. To the outside eye, it is just another stone. But in truth, it is becoming something priceless. That is you. Heaven has allowed pressure, silence, and tests, not to destroy you, but to shape you for what only you can carry. There was a young man who once prayed, God, why am I still waiting? Why does it feel like doors open for others but stay shut for me? And in the stillness, he realized that delay was not punishment. It was God's training ground. He discovered that if doors had opened earlier, he would not have been ready to hold them. Waiting was the test that built his strength, and when the breakthrough finally came, he walked through it with confidence instead of fear. That is where you are now. Your current season is not the end. It is the test before the blessing. It is written in the book of James, chapter 1, verses 2 to 3. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Testing builds perseverance. Do you feel the weight of that? The very struggle that makes you question God is the same struggle that is making you unshakable. Every delay, every closed door, every tear you thought it was breaking you. But it was building something inside of you that nothing can steal. Think about it. Storms never destroy oak trees. They strengthen their roots. Fire never consumes gold. It only burns away the dirt. That is your life right now. You are being refined, not rejected. And this message is your confirmation. God is saying, do not give up now. The pressure is proof that you are close. Now, chosen one, I need you to act. Do not let this word pass you by. Let your spirit respond. Share this, so another warrior in the waiting room can be reminded they are not forgotten. Like this as a public sign that you accept the test and the blessing ahead. Subscribe so you stay connected, because heaven will keep speaking. And finally, mark this moment with your prophetic response. Comment 77 below. That number is a signal to the unseen realm that you choose to persevere, that you are not bowing out of the test. You are not here by accident. This interruption is holy, and what comes after this test will be greater than what you lost in the trial. You have always known, deep in your spirit, that you were different. Even when you tried to fit in, it never worked for long. You laughed with others, but part of you felt like you were standing outside, looking in. You carried questions others didn't ask. You saw patterns in life others ignored. And though at times you thought it was a weakness, that difference is in fact your evidence. You are chosen. Consider the image of a violin, crafted by a master. To anyone who does not understand, it looks like just another piece of wood. but in the hands of a skilled musician, it sings in a way no ordinary instrument could. That is you. Heaven shaped you differently because your life was designed to release a sound others cannot produce. People misunderstood you. Some even rejected you. You were called too sensitive, too serious, too intense. But sensitivity is not weakness. It is a radar tuned to heaven's frequency. Seriousness is not a flaw. It is a sign that you were built for weighty assignments. Intensity is not a burden. It is the fire of destiny burning in your bones. I want you to recall the story of the prophet Jeremiah. From the very beginning, his life was marked. He confessed he was too young, too unqualified, too small. Yet the Lord spoke over him. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. The world might label you too much or not enough. But heaven already defined you as chosen. Your difference is not an accident. It is an assignment. You see, many walk through life comfortable in the crowd. They crave acceptance. They melt into the rhythm of the world, and they fear standing apart. But you, your spirit, resists compromise. Even when you try to silence your conscience, it shouts. Even when you try to numb your heart, it aches. That ache is proof of calling. Think of a lighthouse. It does not blend into the coastline. It is built to stand alone. Tall, immovable, shining where others are swallowed in the storm. Ships may curse its brightness, but without it, they would crash. That is the life of a chosen one. Isolation is not rejection, it is positioning. Your separation from the crowd is your preparation to be a guide. There was once a young woman who tried desperately to be like everyone else. She dressed like them, spoke like them, even dulled her own convictions just to be accepted. But every night she cried in her room, because no matter how hard she tried, her soul was restless. It wasn't until she surrendered and embraced her difference that her peace returned. That was the moment she stopped fighting her identity and stepped into her destiny. Chosen one. You may feel the weight of being different, but understand this: difference is destiny's fingerprint. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 21, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. This truth is for you. You may have tried to plan a life that looked safe, a path that blended in, but purpose has pursued you like a shadow. Every detour, every delay, every unexpected turn has been purpose overriding your plans. That is why you cannot run from it. You were made to stand out, and heaven will not let you disappear into the crowd. So when you feel different, misunderstood, or even isolated, remember this is the evidence of your calling. Embrace it. Let it remind you that you were never made to be common. You were always meant to be chosen. There are battles no one else sees. Silent wars you fought behind closed doors. Smiles on your face while storms raged in your mind. Nights when you whispered, "God, do you even see me?" And the only reply seemed to be silence. But silence was never absence. It was the test. You have walked through valleys others would have collapsed in. You carried burdens so heavy that, if another had held them, they would have broken. Yet here you are, still standing. This is not weakness. This is endurance. It is the fruit of being chosen. Think of a soldier in training. The heaviest weights are given to the strongest recruits, not the weakest. When you wonder why your struggles seem harder, why your road is rougher, it is because heaven trusted you with heavier assignments. God saw something in you that you still have not fully seen in yourself. There was once a young man who carried constant rejection. His family overlooked him. His peers mocked him. And every time he tried to belong, doors slammed shut. Yet in the secret place, he discovered that every rejection was God's redirection. Instead of wasting his life chasing approval, he turned inward to prayer. The same people who mocked him later came seeking his wisdom, because what had been born in private battles became strength in public. That is what your hidden battles are doing for you, building authority others cannot fake. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 37 remind us, "In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." Oh, hear that clearly. You are not just a survivor. You are not just scraping by. You are more than a conqueror, which means every test, every heartbreak, every loss is being woven into a story of triumph. Picture yourself as a blacksmith's blade. Each strike of the hammer, each burst of fire, each moment of pressure, it feels violent. It feels endless. Yet every blow is not destruction but formation. You are being forged into a weapon of light. No wonder the enemy panics when you rise in the morning. No wonder shadows gather when you walk into a room. You are a blade sharpened by battles unseen. Chosen one. You must not misinterpret the weight you carry. Your unseen battles are not proof that God has forgotten you. They are the very evidence that you are chosen. Tests are not punishments. They are trust assignments. And right now, I want you to seal this truth over your life. Write these 4 words in the comments. I choose victory. Do not just type them as empty letters. Let it be your declaration. Every demon that tried to silence you will see it. Every fear that tried to chain you will be confronted by it. Every doubt that whispered you were not enough will tremble at it. When you say, I choose victory, you are reminding both heaven and hell where you stand. You are reminding your own soul that defeat does not have the final word. Destiny does. You were chosen not to live hidden in loss, but to walk boldly in the victory already won for you. Let your unseen battles be your testimony, not your tomb. And hear this clearly. Storms do not last forever. They pass. Shadows do not own the night. Light always breaks through. If you can endure this test, if you can hold on one more moment, you will see the evidence that God was with you all along. Your scars will turn into stories of glory. The weight you carry is not random. Every tear, every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, none of it has been wasted. To others, it may look like weakness, but heaven sees it as proof of your calling. The heaviness you feel is not meant to crush you, it is meant to shape you. Think of a seed buried underground. To anyone watching, it looks forgotten, hidden beneath layers of soil. But in truth, the pressure of the earth above it is what activates its life. Without that pressure, the seed would never break open. Without breaking, it would never grow. That is you. The heaviness you feel is the soil around your destiny, pressing you, activating what is within you. There was a young mother who carried more than most could bear. Bills piled up, relationships fractured, her health weakened. And yet she carried the responsibility of raising her children with dignity. Many nights, she whispered, Lord, I can't carry this anymore. Yet every morning, strength came. Somehow she rose. Somehow she provided. And years later, her children looked back and said, "She taught us faith, not by preaching, but by living." What felt like crushing weight to her became a legacy of faith for them. This is the mystery of being chosen. Your heaviest burdens are not signs of abandonment, but of assignment. You are entrusted with weight because you are trusted with destiny. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 33, verse 14. "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." Oh, notice this carefully. God did not promise to remove the burden instantly. He promised His presence in the middle of it. He promised rest even while carrying weight. That is why you have not collapsed, because His presence has been the hidden strength beneath your steps. Picture a bridge made of iron. Thousands walk across it every day, carrying cars, buses, endless traffic. The weight is immense, yet the bridge does not crumble, because it was designed for the load. The weight reveals its strength. So it is with you. The very burdens you thought would break you are proving that heaven designed you stronger than you knew. Still, I will not minimize it. You feel the cost. Being chosen is heavy. Sometimes the ache feels unbearable. Sometimes you wonder if it would be easier to lay it all down. Yet, even in those moments, something inside of you will not quit. That something is the Spirit of God reminding you that the weight is not the end of the story. There was a man in Scripture named Job. He carried grief, loss, sickness, and betrayal all at once. Ikistioneth. He wept. He wished for death. But he never cursed God. And in the end, what he carried became the testimony of restoration. His story proves this: the heaviest loads lead to the greatest revelations. So, chosen one, the weight you carry is not meaningless. It is evidence that you are trusted. It is proof that you were built for more. Every ache is shaping compassion in you. Every tear is watering seeds for future harvest. Every sleepless night is turning into wisdom for those who will come after you. Do not despise the weight. Let it teach you. Let it remind you that your story is not ordinary. And when the day comes, and it will, when the weight lifts, and your hands are free, you will see why you carried it. You will look back and say, "I was not crushed. I was constructed." And your pain is proof. Your burden is prophecy. Your weight is your witness. There are moments when heaven sounds an alarm, not with noise, not with sirens, but with a deep stirring in your spirit that will not let you stay the same. You know it those days when something inside says, "Wake up, pay attention. Everything is about to shift." This is one of those moments. The warning of heaven is never meant to scare you. It is meant to awaken you. Think of a watchman on a city wall, in the silence of the night, when everyone else sleeps. The watchman hears footsteps in the distance. He rings the bell, not to disturb, but to protect. That is what God has been doing for you. Every restlessness, every divine interruption, every coincidence that pushed you toward Him, it was His alarm, drawing you back into alignment. There was once a man who lived by the sea. Every morning, he heard the sound of gulls and the rhythm of the waves. But one morning, the ocean grew strangely still. He didn't notice. Distracted by his chores, an old fisherman knocked on his door, saying, "Don't you hear it? The silence is the warning. A storm is near. Hours later, the winds roared and waves crashed. He realized the warning had been mercy. Chosen one. Sometimes, silence is the loudest alarm. Sometimes the absence of what you expected is the call to look deeper. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 42, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." And the blessing is real. The promise is near. But God's blessings never come without an invitation to awareness. To ignore the alarm is to risk missing the moment. To respond is to step into the opening heaven has prepared. Picture your life as a lantern in the night. The oil inside burns low. But just when the flame threatens to die, a gentle hand pours in new oil, and the light grows steady again. That oil is the warning of God. It comes not to shame you, but to refill you. And now, chosen one, I want to speak to the part of you that feels weary, the part of you tempted to scroll past, to dismiss this as just another word. This is not just another word. This is the lantern moment. The oil is being poured. If this has reached your heart, let your response be an offering. You can touch the screen with a like, not for me, but as a symbolic spark, as though you are saying, "Yes, I want my lamp to stay lit." You can share this as though you are carrying the flame into another person's darkness. And when you subscribe, imagine it not as clicking a button, but as building an altar where you return again and again to hear the voice of God. Do you see the difference? These are not tasks. These are symbolic acts of faith, small gestures on earth. But in the unseen realm, they declare, "I am awake. I am watching. I am ready." The alarm is sounding. The oil is being poured. The blessing is near. And the beauty is this: responding is not a burden. It is a choice, a free, sacred, voluntary choice. The watchman has sounded the bell. The storm is passing, and your lantern is glowing brighter. The road you walk is narrow. Few choose it, because few are willing to pay its price. Many prefer the wide way, where the crowd moves together, where comfort is celebrated, and compromise is easy. But your spirit cannot settle there. You feel the pull toward a higher path, the one less traveled, the one carved by obedience. The narrow road is lonely at times. Friends drift away. Opportunities slip through your fingers. People label you as different or too serious. But that road, though difficult, is sacred. It is the path where heaven walks beside you. Consider the story of Joshua. When Moses had passed, Joshua faced the impossible task of leading Israel into the promised land. Fear whispered that he wasn't enough. Doubt pressed against him like a storm. Yet the Lord spoke into his spirit. "Be strong and courageous." Joshua chose the narrow road of obedience instead of the easy road of retreat. And because he chose it, nations were shaken and promises were fulfilled. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 25, verse 10. All the ways of the Lord are loving and faithful toward those who keep the demands of his covenant. The ways of the Lord are not always easy, but they are always faithful. The narrow path requires trust. It requires surrender. And most of all, it requires the courage to keep walking, even when you cannot see the end. Think of a mountain trail, wide at the base, crowded with hikers, But as it ascends, the path narrows, the air thins. Many turn back, but those who endure reach the summit, where the view is breathtaking and the journey finally makes sense. That is the narrow road. It looks harder, but the higher you climb, the clearer the vision becomes. There was a young woman who dreamed of success, of recognition, of applause. She followed the wide path for years, chasing popularity, blending in with what everyone else was doing. But her soul grew restless. She knew there was something more. So, one day, she laid it all down and chose the quieter, narrower path of prayer, service, and surrender. At first, it seemed like loss. Yet over time, she discovered a peace and a strength she had never known before. What looked like sacrifice was actually gain. Chosen one. Your narrow road may feel unfair at times. You may watch others enjoy temporary rewards while you labor unseen. But the narrow road leads to eternal fruit. The wide road ends in emptiness. And this moment is your confirmation. Heaven is reminding you, your path is holy. Even if it is hard, your steps are watched. Even when unseen, your obedience is shaping history in ways you cannot yet measure. Now, let your spirit respond to this word. Seal your obedience with a prophetic number. Comment this below, 333. Why this number? Because 3 is the number of divine fullness, of resurrection, of God's perfect unity. And when it repeats, it is heaven's whisper that your journey is not alone. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit walk the narrow path with you. So when you write 333, let it be your declaration. I will not abandon the narrow road. I will trust that my steps are guided. I will walk faithfully, no matter the cost. The narrow way is not for everyone, but it is for you, and it will lead you into the promises that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. In the stillness of life, when noise fades and the room is quiet, there are whispers you cannot explain, words that are not audible, yet press into your heart with undeniable weight. Many dismiss them as passing thoughts, but you, chosen one, know the difference. You've felt that holy whisper in moments when you least expected it. God does not always thunder. More often, He speaks in a voice so gentle it requires silence to hear. The prophet Elijah discovered this, standing in a cave, broken and weary. He looked for God in the wind, the earthquake, and the fire, but the Lord was not in any of them. Then came a gentle whisper, and Elijah knew, this is Him. That same whisper has been guiding you in your journey. Consider this. A compass needle always points north, even if storms shake the ship, even if the sky is dark. The needle never loses its direction. In the same way, the spirit within you always points toward God, nudging you with gentle impressions. It might feel small, but those whispers have preserved your life more times than you know. There was a man who worked in a busy city, surrounded by endless distractions. Yet in his commute, he felt the nudge to take a different route. At first, he ignored it, but the impression grew stronger. Finally, he listened. Later, he learned there had been an accident on his usual path. That whisper had saved him. He realized it was not his imagination, it was the voice of God, steering him through the unseen. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 33, verse 3. Call to me, and I will answer you, and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. End of Do you see it? The promise is not that God is silent, but that He speaks mysteries beyond your sight. Yet His voice often requires your stillness. The rush of the world can drown Him out. But when you pause, when you quiet your heart, the whisper becomes clear. Think of a mother's voice to her newborn. The words may not be understood, but the tone brings peace. The child knows the presence, feels the security, and rests. That is how the whispers of God work in your life. You may not always understand them in the moment, but they bring clarity and safety. You might ask, but how do I know it is God's whisper and not my own thought? Here lies the secret. His whispers never lead you to darkness, never push you into fear, never contradict His word. Instead, they draw you closer to truth, to peace, to life. That inner compass aligns with Scripture, and peace follows it. There was a young girl who longed to hear from God. She sat in her room, asking again and again for His voice. At first, she heard nothing, but slowly, she began to notice impressions, a thought to encourage a friend, a nudge to open her Bible, a sense to pray for someone she hadn't seen in years. Each time she obeyed, confirmation followed. She realized God's voice had been there all along, waiting for her attention. Chosen one. This is your story too. You are not abandoned in silence. You are being guided in whispers. So when you sense that still, small voice, lean in. Let it interrupt your plans. Let it redirect your steps. Let it remind you that even when the world is loud, heaven is near. The whisper of God has been the anchor of your journey, and it will continue to lead you into what eyes cannot see and ears cannot hear. There comes a point when mercy feels distant, when the weight of delay tempts you to believe that perhaps heaven has gone silent for good. It is in these moments that urgency presses closer, as if eternity itself is watching to see how you will respond. You stand at the edge of something sacred, the edge of mercy. This edge is not a threat, but a wake-up call. Think of a cliff above the sea. From afar, it looks beautiful, a place to admire the horizon. But stand too close without care, and you sense the danger beneath your feet. That awareness makes you cautious, intentional. In the same way, God allows you to feel the edge of mercy, not to frighten you, but to remind you of the weight of your choices. Israel once stood at such an edge. In the days of Hosea, the people turned their hearts to idols, ignoring the voice of God. Again and again, He called them back, offering grace, but every refusal led them closer to blindness. Still, even in His warnings, His love was clear. Return to me. The edge of mercy was the moment where their decision shaped their destiny. The prophet wrote in the scroll of Hosea, chapter 14, verse 1, Return, Israel, to the Lord your God. Your sins have been your downfall. This is not just history. It is your reminder. There are seasons when God's patience extends, when His mercy waits at the door. But there are also moments when mercy steps back, allowing you to feel the weight of what disobedience costs, not because He hates you, but because He loves you too much to let you sleep through destiny. Imagine a lantern running low on oil. The flame flickers, warning of its own extinction. That flicker is mercy. alerting you to refill before it is too late. If ignored, the darkness consumes. If heeded, the light burns strong again. That is where you may find yourself now, at the flicker stage. The gentle warning that more oil is needed. There was once a man who delayed obedience. He felt the nudge to reconcile with someone he had hurt. But pride whispered, "You have time. Later will be easier." Later never came. That person passed unexpectedly, and the chance was gone. For years, he carried the ache of delay. He learned in pain what could have been learned in surrender. Mercy has a window, chosen one. Do not misinterpret the urgency you feel, that stirring in your spirit, that unsettled restlessness is not punishment. It is God's mercy calling you back from the cliff's edge. Consider the image of an hourglass. Sand slips grain by grain, silent but relentless. You cannot reverse it. Yet if you act within time, the glass can be turned, the flow renewed. Mercy works like that. Each choice, each moment, is a grain of sand. But while breath is in your lungs, while the spirit still stirs, it is not too late. The edge of mercy is a sacred place. It confronts you with the cost of delay, but it also offers the beauty of return. And return is always possible. The God who warns is the same God who restores. The cliff does not exist to destroy you. It exists to remind you that eternity is real. And your choices matter. So if you feel the weight of standing at this edge, know this: it is not abandonment. It is invitation. You are not being pushed into despair. You are being pulled into destiny. Mercy is near, but it will not wait forever. Listen while the whisper is clear. Respond while the flame still flickers. Step back from the edge and step into the arms that have been waiting for you all along. The crown is not given to those who begin. It is reserved for those who endure. You have faced trials, rejection, loneliness, and tests that made you question your worth. Yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still chosen. The very fact that you did not quit is proof that heaven has marked you for inheritance. Crowns are not cheap ornaments. They are the visible sign of unseen battles. The jewels in them symbolize tears shed, nights endured, faith kept when it would have been easier to walk away. The crown you are approaching is not decoration, it is testimony. Think of the Apostle Paul, beaten, imprisoned, betrayed, yet he never surrendered to despair. At the end of his life, he could boldly say, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." That was not pride. That was recognition of a crown that awaited him. A reward not just for enduring, but for staying faithful. It is written in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life the Lord promised. Do you see it? The blessing is not in avoiding trials, but in enduring them. Perseverance is the proof of love, and that love secures a crown that no enemy, not circumstance, no betrayal can ever take away. Imagine a marathon runner, muscles burning, lungs aching, the finish line still far away. Every step feels impossible, yet the crowd erupts as they push forward. And finally they break the ribbon. That medal is not just metal, it is proof of endurance. The same is true of your crown. It is the evidence of what you've carried, what you've overcome, and what you've remained faithful to. There was once a quiet woman in a small town. No one celebrated her. No one wrote about her life. She prayed in secret. She served in silence. She loved when no one noticed. At her funeral, person after person stood to say, "Because of her, I found faith. Because of her, I was loved. Because of her, I kept going." She wore no visible crown on earth, but in heaven, she was clothed with glory. Her testimony proves that crowns are not about applause, but about obedience. Chosen one, you may feel weary. You may wonder if all of your unseen sacrifices matter, but heaven is keeping record. Every act of faith, every moment of endurance, every tear is counted, and the crown that awaits you will reflect it all. Now, I want you to anchor this truth in your soul with a short declaration. Write in the comments, "I will endure." Do not see it as just words. Let it be your seal. When you declare, "I will endure," you remind yourself that quitting is not your portion. You remind heaven that you accept the crown waiting for you. And you remind darkness that no matter the weight, you will not lay down your faith. Hold on. Chosen one, the crown is near, and it will fit only you, because it was designed from the beginning with your name written into its design. And when you finally wear it, every moment of pain will make sense. Every hidden sacrifice will shine like a jewel. Every unanswered question will become a testimony. The crown will not only honor your endurance, it will reveal to the world that you were chosen, faithful, and unstoppable. Fire has a way of revealing what is hidden. When gold is placed into the furnace, the heat does not destroy it. The heat burns away the impurities, leaving behind a shine brighter than before. This is the same process heaven is working in you. Every trial you've endured, every moment you thought you were breaking, was not destruction, it was refinement. Chosen one. Think of yourself as a clay jar in the hands of a potter. The wheel spins fast. The pressure of his fingers pushes deep, and the shaping feels endless. But what looks painful to the clay is purposeful to the potter. He sees the final form, even while the clay only feels the pressure. That is your story. You have been spun, pressed, and stretched, not because you are abandoned, but because you are becoming something greater. We find in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3, "He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites like gold." Silver, do you hear the beauty in that? God does not leave the furnace unattended. The refiner sits close, eyes fixed on the fire, watching until the silver reflects his face. That means your trials have never been random. His presence has been near all along, ensuring that you are shaped but not consumed. Imagine a seed pushed deep into the soil. It waits in darkness, pressed on all sides, unseen by the world above. But beneath the surface, the pressure cracks it open, releasing the life hidden inside. Soon, the green shoot breaks through. That is you. The darkness you endured was not a coffin, it was the birthplace of new life. There was a man who lost nearly everything in one season: his job, his home, and his closest relationships. He thought it was the end, but in the midst of the fire, he discovered prayer like never before. had discovered discipline, humility, and clarity. Years later, he realized that what he thought was loss was actually the fire, shaping him into the man he was always meant to be. Your pain has been shaping you the same way. You are not who you were a year ago. The fire has made you more compassionate, more discerning, more resilient. You shine differently now because of what you endured. Now let's make this personal. Picture a lantern lit in the night. Its flame is small, yet it guides travelers through darkness. Each time the wind tries to snuff it out, the flame flickers, but it survives. And every flicker becomes testimony that the light is stronger than the storm. That is you, carrying light that refuses to die. Chosen one. This message is your gentle reminder. You are in the fire. Yes, but you are not being destroyed. You are being refined. And if your heart is stirred by this, let your response be an act of light. You can touch the screen with a like, as if placing your own flame on the altar, saying, I will shine through this. You can share this as though passing a torch into someone else's darkness, giving them the same hope that carried you. And when you subscribe, do not see it as just a button. It is like planting your roots deeper into the soil of truth, choosing to return again and again for the water that sustains you. These are not obligations. They are choices, sacred, voluntary, beautiful choices that mirror your journey of refinement. Just as fire does not force the gold but frees it, so your response is not forced. It is an overflow of what your spirit already knows. The fire is not your end. It is your transformation. And when the refining is finished, you will not only reflect His light, you will become the very flame that lights the way for others. The enemy does not waste energy on what does not threaten him. That is why your life has felt like a battlefield. The intensity of your struggle is not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Every time you rise from the ashes, hell trembles. Every time you pray through your pain, shadows scatter. Your very existence is proof that the enemy's plans have failed. Think of a lion in the wild. It does not roar at the grass or at the birds. It roars at the rival it fears, the one that threatens its territory. The same is true in your story. The opposition against you is loud precisely because you carry something powerful. The louder the roar, the clearer the evidence. You are a threat to darkness. There was once a man who could not understand why his life seemed to unravel whenever he tried to draw closer to God. He noticed how old temptations resurfaced, how relationships grew tense, how unexpected obstacles appeared. At first, he thought he was cursed, but with time, he realized the truth. The battle was confirmation. The enemy fought him harder because he was getting closer to breakthrough, according to what is revealed in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Ends it. This is why the fight feels unrelenting. Your war is not against people. It is against invisible forces that fear your light. The enemy knows that if you step fully into your calling, if you embrace your identity as chosen, entire atmospheres will change. Chains will break. Generational cycles will shatter. That is why he tries to exhaust you before you arrive. Picture a storm pounding against a lighthouse. The winds howl. The waves crash. but the tower remains, its beam cutting through the dark. Ships cling to its light, surviving because it refuses to be shaken. You are that lighthouse. Every attack against you is proof of the light you carry. The enemy panics because you are still standing. You've endured storms that should have silenced you. You've walked through valleys that should have buried you. And yet, here you are, still chosen, still carrying light. That is what terrifies darkness, not perfection. But endurance. There was a young woman who faced rejection from every direction. She was told she was too quiet, too plain, too unworthy. Yet she clung to God in the secret place. With time, those same voices that mocked her came seeking her prayers. The very rejection that once tried to silence her became the stage for her testimony. Chosen one. Hear this clearly. The panic of the enemy is confirmation of your power. You are not weak because you face battles. You face battles because you are strong. Every hit against you has only proved what heaven already knew: you are chosen, and you are unstoppable. And understand this: the enemy would not waste his fire on empty vessels. He fears you because you carry treasure. He fears you because you carry light. And though he roars, his roar is hollow. For victory has already been written in your story. You are living proof that darkness cannot win. There are moments when heaven speaks in ways the world cannot explain. Sometimes it is through a verse that leaps off the page. Other times through a dream, a sign, or even a sudden stirring in your spirit. These are not accidents. They are prophetic markers, reminders that God is still guiding your steps. Chosen one. Think of the rainbow after the flood. To Noah and his family, it was not just colors in the sky, it was a covenant, a visible sign that God's promises endure. In the same way, prophetic signs in your life are heaven's language of covenant. They remind you that you are not abandoned, that you are still part of a divine plan bigger than your pain. The Word of God declares in the book of Isaiah, chapter 55, verse 11, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." The waiting is hard. You feel as though the promise lingers too long. But the truth is this: God's timing is not hesitation. It is precision. Prophetic signs appear along the way to remind you that the appointed time is still set, still secure. Imagine a traveler walking through a dense forest. The path is hidden, the way uncertain, but every so often, a stone marker appears, carved with an arrow pointing forward. That marker does not reveal the entire journey, but it proves the path is real. Prophetic numbers and signs work the same way. They are heaven's arrows, pointing you forward. There was a young man who constantly saw the same number appear on clocks, receipts, and even doors. At first, he thought it strange, but the more it appeared, the more he realized it was not random. Every time he saw it, it came with peace, with reassurance that God had not forgotten him. That number became his reminder in seasons of doubt. Chosen one. Heaven is offering you such a reminder now, a prophetic code to anchor your faith. Comment this number below. 555. Why this number? Because 5 represents grace. And in triple form, it is the fullness of grace multiplied over your life. Grace for your past, grace for your present, and grace for your future. Grace that covers what you lost. Grace that strengthens what you carry. Grace that ushers you into what is coming. So when you write 555, you are not just typing digits, you are declaring, I choose to walk under grace. You are aligning your spirit with the truth that you are not sustained by strength alone, but by the unshakable kindness of God. Think of it this way: every comment becomes like an altar stone, a testimony that you received this sign and sealed it in faith. And long after you leave this moment, heaven remembers the altar you built. Chosen one. Do not dismiss the signs. Do not overlook the numbers. They are whispers from eternity, marking your path with grace upon grace. And hear this with all your heart. God is not playing games with your destiny. He is weaving confirmations into your path, giving you glimpses of what is to come, so you will not faint on the journey. The signs are not coincidences, they are conversations. And every time you notice them, it is proof that heaven is nearer than you thought, wrapping your steps in grace and pointing you home. There are mantles in the kingdom of God, assignments, responsibilities, and callings that are not meant for the crowd, but for the chosen. Some are too heavy for those who crave comfort. Some are too sacred for those who chase applause. When others drop them, heaven looks for someone willing to carry what was abandoned. That someone is often you. Think of the prophet Elisha. When Elijah's time was ending, he asked Elisha what he desired. Elisha did not ask for wealth, protection, or recognition. He asked for a double portion of his spirit. And when the chariot of fire carried Elijah away, his cloak, his mantle fell to the ground. Elisha picked it up. That single act marked him as the one chosen to continue what others could not finish. The ancient words recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 19 say, So Elijah went from there and found Elisha son of Shaphat. He was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12th pair. Elijah went up to him and threw his cloak around him, and the cloak was more than fabric. It was a symbol of divine appointment, of a calling too great for ordinary life. And when it landed on Elisha, his life shifted forever. He was no longer a farmer, he was a prophet, no longer hidden in the fields, but standing as a mouthpiece of God, chosen one. That is the power of a mantle. It transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary vessels. It turns obscurity into destiny. Imagine a relay race. One runner, exhausted, stretches forward and passes the baton. The next runner, though fresh, cannot start without that handoff. The baton represents continuity, the passing of responsibility. In the same way, mantles are passed through generations. Some have been dropped by those too weary or unwilling, and heaven looks for the one who will pick it up. That is why you feel the weight you do. You are carrying assignments others let slip. There was once a man who grew up overlooked, told he would never amount to anything. Yet in prayer, he began to feel a stirring to intercede for his community. At first, he dismissed it as imagination, but over time, he realized he was carrying what others had neglected, the mantle of intercession. Years later, that same community saw revival break out, because one man carried what no one else would. The mantle does not always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like unseen service, hidden prayer, or small acts of faithfulness. But in the unseen, heaven knows, and eternity counts. Picture a torch in a dark stadium. As long as someone carries it, the flame survives. But if dropped, the darkness takes over. The mantle you carry is like that torch. It may feel heavy at times, but it is also holy. Chosen one. Do not despise the mantle you've been given. It may not look like others. It may not gain applause, but it carries eternal weight. And when you choose to hold it, you continue stories that began long before you, and you spark movements that will outlive you. This is why your journey feels weighty. You are not just walking for yourself, you are carrying assignments, promises, and callings that others left behind. You are the continuation of prayers whispered long ago. The answer to cries heaven has not forgotten. The mantle is proof that heaven trusts you. And though it feels heavy now, one day you will look back and realize it was the greatest honor you could have carried. There are doors in life that no human hand can open. You can knock, you can push, you can strain with all your strength, yet nothing moves. Then, without warning, a door swings wide, not because of effort, but because of obedience. These are breakthrough doors, reserved for those who walk in alignment with God's will. Breakthrough is not random. It is not luck. It is the fruit of patience, surrender, and faithfulness. Many long for it, but few are willing to endure the waiting that precedes it. Breakthrough is heaven's response to a heart that chooses trust when nothing makes sense. Think of the people of Israel standing before the walls of Jericho. The city was fortified, impossible to conquer with human strength. Yet God's instruction was strange. March around the walls in silence for 6 days. And on the 7th day, shout. To human logic, it made no sense. But obedience tore down what effort never could. When the trumpet sounded and the people shouted, the walls collapsed. That is the mystery of breakthrough. Obedience is the key that unlocks the impossible, as recorded in the book of Revelation. Chapter 3, verse 8. Z. I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. M. This verse speaks directly to the heart of breakthrough. The open door is not given to the strongest, but to the faithful. It is not about human ability, but about divine favor. Imagine a locked gate in a garden. You push and strain, but the gate does not move. Then the gardener appears with a key. One turn, and the gate swings wide. The key was not effort, but relationship. In the same way, breakthrough is not about striving harder, it is about staying close to the one who holds the keys. There was once a woman who prayed for years for her family to find faith. Every holiday, she prayed at the dinner table, even when her words were mocked. For decades, nothing changed. Then, one by one, hearts softened. One day, her children and grandchildren filled an entire row in church together. She realized the door had always been locked to her strength, but obedience to keep praying had unlocked it in God's timing. Breakthrough is often hidden in small acts of obedience. Forgiving when bitterness feels easier, trusting when fear whispers louder, continuing when everything in you wants to quit. These choices may feel small, but they are the steps that lead to open doors. Picture a river dam. Water builds. Unseen pressure mounting behind the wall. For a long time, nothing changes. Then, suddenly, the dam breaks. and the water rushes through with unstoppable force. That is how breakthrough comes. Quiet build-up, unseen preparation, then release in a single moment. Chosen one. If the door has not opened yet, do not despair. The waiting is not denial. The silence is not abandonment. You are closer than you realize. And when the breakthrough comes, it will not just be for you, it will overflow into those connected to your life. The door of breakthrough is sacred. It does not yield to striving, but it responds to faith. And when it opens, you will know it was never by your hand, but by the hand of the one who chose you. Every journey reaches a final warning, a last stretch where the choices you make will determine everything that follows. It is not to frighten you, it is to awaken you. The truth is, chosen one, you are closer to destiny than you realize, and heaven is asking, will you step fully into it, or let hesitation steal the moment? There is an image that lingers in Scripture, the 10 virgins waiting for the bridegroom. 5 were wise, lamps filled with oil. 5 were foolish, lamps empty when the midnight cry came. The difference was not desire, they all wanted to meet him. The difference was preparation. Some lived ready, some lived distracted. When the moment came, only those with oil walked through the door. As Jesus spoke in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 13, therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour. This warning is not to weigh you down. It is to remind you that readiness is a choice. The midnight cry will come. The question is, will your lamp still burn when it does? Think of a bridge stretching over a deep canyon. On one side is where you are, with all the struggles and waiting. On the other side is your promise, the place you were always meant to reach. The bridge itself is faith. Each step across is obedience. And the final warning is this: don't turn back now. Don't let fear make you stop in the middle. The view on the other side is worth every trembling step. There was a man who nearly gave up. For years he tried to build a business with integrity, but corruption around him seemed to prosper while he barely survived. One night, ready to quit, he prayed, "Lord, show me if I should continue." The next morning, a stranger encouraged him, speaking words that pierced his soul. He pressed on, and not long after, doors opened that he had dreamed of for years. The final warning was not about stopping him, it was about pulling him through. Chosen one. This moment feels the same for you. The weight is real. The doubts whisper loud. But the truth is this: you are closer to your breakthrough than you know. The final warning is heaven's way of saying, don't give up now. Keep the oil in your lamp. Keep walking across the bridge. And if your spirit knows this is for you, let your response become more than routine. Let it be symbolic. When you touch the screen with a like, imagine it as lighting your lamp again. Oil pouring in. Fire rekindled. When you share, see it as carrying your torch into someone else's midnight, so they too may be ready when the cry comes. When you write a comment, let it be as though carving your name into the bridge, saying, I crossed, I endured, I chose destiny. And when you subscribe, think of it as planting your roots deeper, as though building a permanent altar where you return to hear God's whispers again and again. None of this is compulsion. These are not chores. They are acts of beauty. like placing stones upon a memorial, saying, "This is where God spoke to me. This is where I chose to stand ready." The final warning is not fear, it is mercy. It is heaven's invitation to step fully into what has been waiting for you all along. And when you walk through, your life will not only shine for yourself, but for generations after you. There comes a time when hidden things rise into the light. What was whispered in secret becomes a shout upon the rooftops. What was buried in obscurity becomes crowned with glory. Chosen one, that is the season you are entering. The glory that has been growing quietly within you is about to be revealed. Think of the life of Joseph. For years, he lived in shadows, betrayed by his brothers, forgotten, in prison, unseen by those in power. Yet in a single day, he was lifted from the dungeon to the palace. His hidden years were not wasted. They were the preparation that made him fit for the throne. The glory of his destiny did not erase the pain of his past. It transformed it into testimony. As revealed in the book 2 of Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 18, "And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with glory." Transformation is not sudden fame or fleeting applause. It is a gradual unveiling, layer by layer. As God shapes you into a reflection of his own glory, you may not have seen it, but every trial, every delay, every quiet act of faith has been chiseling away what hides the light. Imagine a statue covered in clay. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing special. Yet when the sculptor washes away the clay, the beauty beneath is revealed. That is your life. The glory has always been there. It is only now that the covering is being lifted. There was once a young woman who worked faithfully in a small community, teaching children and serving quietly in her church. She dreamed of doing more, but doors seemed closed. One day, an opportunity came to speak before leaders in her city. She thought she was unqualified, but when she spoke, years of hidden faithfulness poured out like fire. Those listening were changed, and new doors opened everywhere. She realized the season of hiddenness had been her training ground, and the moment of glory was God's timing, not her striving. Chosen one. Your glory is not about applause, it is about radiance, a light that others cannot deny, even if they try to ignore it, a strength that shows through scars, a wisdom that flows through wounds healed by grace. Picture the sunrise after a long night. For hours, the earth lies in shadow, but when the horizon breaks, the light is unstoppable. That is how glory rises. It does not ask permission. It does not move timidly. It floods everything in its path. Your life is the same. The hidden season has been long, but dawn is here. And when the light breaks, it will not be dim or fragile. It will be unmistakable. The glory rising in you is not for pride. It is for purpose. It is the answer to prayers whispered by others long before you. It is the torch meant to guide those still walking in shadow. So do not fear this unveiling. Do not shrink back when others begin to see what God placed in you. The time of being hidden has ended. The time of being crowned has come. Chosen one, lift your head. Step into the light. Let the glory rise. Destiny is not fragile. It is sealed, anchored in eternity, and written by the hand of God himself. Chosen one, everything you have walked through, every trial, every heartbreak, Every unanswered question has not been wasted. They were all pieces of a greater tapestry, threads woven into a story that will not unravel. Your identity is no longer in question. You are chosen, and that truth is unshakable. Consider the life of Esther. She was once hidden, an orphan raised in obscurity, yet heaven had already written her destiny long before the crown touched her head. When the moment came, she stepped into her purpose, saving her people and securing a legacy that would echo for generations. Her story reveals this: destiny is not fragile. It waits for its moment. And when the time comes, nothing can stop it. The ancient words in the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 29 remind us, "For God's gifts and his call are irrevocable." Lo, irrevocable. This means they cannot be cancelled, revoked, or stolen. The enemy may delay. Life may test. People may reject. But the call on your life remains. The seal of heaven is unbreakable. Imagine a signet ring pressed into wax. Once stamped, the mark is permanent, unaltered by time. That is what God has done over your destiny. His seal is upon you, and no hand can erase it. There was once a man who ran from his calling, et poursuivre success, wealth, and recognition, trying to bury the voice of God. For years, he succeeded in appearance, but failed in peace. Eventually, in a moment of surrender, he returned to what he had always known. Deep down, he was chosen, and when he stepped back into alignment, doors opened with ease, and peace returned. He realized what Scripture had promised all along: God's call had never left him. Chosen one. You may wonder about your past mistakes. You may think the weight of your failures disqualified you. But destiny does not unravel because of your weakness. It bends through grace. It redeems through mercy. And it rises through forgiveness. Picture an old oak tree scarred by storms. Its bark bears the marks of lightning and wind, yet instead of dying, it grows stronger. Its roots deeper. The scars do not destroy its beauty. They prove its resilience. So it is with your destiny. The scars are not signs of disqualification. They are proof of survival. Your sealed destiny is not only about your future, it is about your identity now. You no longer need to strive to prove yourself. You no longer need to fear being overlooked. Heaven has already declared who you are, and the earth will see it in time. There was a young girl who always felt unseen. She compared herself to others, wondering why her path seemed longer, why her gifts seemed smaller. But as years passed, she discovered that her uniqueness was her strength. When she finally embraced who she was in God's eyes, doors opened that comparison could never have given her. Her destiny had always been sealed. It simply waited for her agreement. Chosen one. Your story is sealed too. The crown has your name engraved on it. The path has been prepared for your steps. The glory rising in you is not temporary, it is eternal. So stand firm. Do not doubt what has already been written. Your destiny is not fragile. It is sealed. It is sacred. It is unstoppable. And you, chosen by God, will walk it out until the end. Chosen one. You have reached the closing of this journey. But it is not an ending, it is a beginning. Every word you've received, every image you've carried, every whisper that stirred your heart, they were all reminders that you are not ordinary. You are chosen, marked, and set apart for something greater than you imagined. Think of a flame carried through the night. At first it feels small, almost fragile. Yet as long as it burns, darkness cannot claim victory. That flame is in you. It has survived storms, silence, and shadows. Yet it still glows. And now, the choice is yours. Will you keep it hidden? Or will you let it shine so others can see? Your response can be more than an action. It can be a symbol. When you press a like, imagine it as lifting your flame higher, declaring, "My light will not be hidden." When you share, picture it as handing your torch into someone else's hands, giving them warmth and courage for their own path. When you write a comment, let it be like carving your promise into stone, leaving a testimony that says, "I was here, I received, I will endure." And when you subscribe, see it not as a button, but as planting your roots deeper, choosing to return to the well where your spirit is refreshed. None of these are demands. They are invitations, beautiful, voluntary acts that turn this moment from just listening into living, acts that echo beyond the screen, into eternity. So step forward with courage, carry the flame, share the light, and remember, you are chosen, you are ready, and your story is only just beginning.